Hello lovely people out there. How are you all doing? I'm Kate Hill and I am here to give you the best unbiased and honest commentary about our property markets along with some really awesome hints and tips. And today I have got my weekly news update for you, so stay tuned. Now, it's no secret that our property markets have gone a bit disco crazy at the moment. Properties are selling before they even get listed. There are many, many buyers for each property and there just aren't enough properties to go around at the moment. Supply is really low and people are missing out. So it's pretty busy for us right now as clients are calling up, asking us to buy those properties for them. That's what we do. It's just really one big hustle out there right now. So my question to you is, are you experiencing that FOMO, that fear of missing out? If so, tell me where you're buying, what you're experiencing, tell me what you're trying to buy. And just really, really quickly, if you're interested in what's happening specifically with the Sydney or the Melbourne property markets right now, then you need to watch these videos right here. I just posted them up last week. So today I am going to be covering off on: is there a property bubble coming? Auction clearance rates. 9 in 10 deferred mortgages have resumed repayments, and big increases in house prices still being forecast. So totally true to form, the moment our property markets start to do well and there's momentum, there is talk in the mainstream media of housing bubbles, which is really extraordinary considering just a few months ago there was talk of a 30% crash. The CommBank CEO has dampened concerns about rising prices, saying that the growth spurt is really being fueled by owner-occupiers, not investors piling into the Sydney and Melbourne markets. He has underlined several distinctive characteristics of today's market compared with earlier property booms. He says that in the middle of the last decade, more than half of new lending in Sydney and New South Wales was flowing to investors. If you go back to 2014 and 15, most of that growth was coming out of Sydney and Melbourne. At the moment, the fastest growing capital cities are Darwin and Perth, followed by Canberra. There's a number of regional locations that are also growing very rapidly. Sydney and Melbourne are not really strong on a relative basis. The Bendigo and Adelaide Bank Chief Exec has also highlighted the strength of the regional property market and owner-occupiers in driving recent price growth. Their loan book is 85% owner-occupiers, so it's actually not being led by investors. And that is a difference that we need to take into account. In terms of auction clearance rates, there were 2,451 homes taken to auction across the combined capitals this week, which is up from 2,128 from the previous week, although lower than this time last year when it was 3,026. Of the 2,053 results collected so far, 82% reported a successful result, which is down from last week's preliminary auction clearance rate of 84%, which revised actually down to 79% at the final figures. In Melbourne, 1,273 homes went to auction compared with 1,095 the previous week, 1,612 the time last year. Of the 1,091 results collected, 77% were reported as successful, down from the previous week's preliminary clearance rate of 82%, which did then revise down to 77%. This time last year, 74% of reported auctions were successful. Sydney was host to 844 auctions, increasing from 768 the previous week, although lower than this time last year when it was 1,087. The preliminary clearance rate came in at 89%, up slightly from previous week's clearance rate of 88%, which then again revised down to 83% at those final figures. And this time last year it was 76% that were reported successful. It is likely that Sydney's final clearance rate will come in at around those low 80% for the fourth consecutive week. Now, you'll all remember that the banks let many of their customers defer their loan payments for several months during the uncertainty of COVID. According to the latest major bank data, repayments have resumed on more than 9 out of 10 mortgages deferred during that crisis. The data collected by the Australian Banking Association from those 4 major banks shows that 91% of deferred loans now have partial or full repayments being made on them. There are actually fewer than 80,000 loans still in deferral, which is down from the peak of more than 800,000 back in June. And back then, 11% of home loans had been deferred to the value of $195 billion, whereas the latest data shows that just 0.5% of loan facilities are still on pause repayments. This is really promising news as the 31st of March deadline for mortgage deferrals draws nearer, with most banks now no longer accepting new payment freezes for customers not in financial hardship. To help customers still in need and to reduce the risk of a financial cliff beyond March, the ABA has launched an industry-wide financial assistance hub. The ABA CEO, Anna Bligh, said that Australia is in a good place as we overcome this pandemic, but it's not smooth sailing for everyone, far from it. So that's why Australian banks are launching the next phase of COVID-19 assistance, which is designed to help customers still in financial difficulty. For the first time, banks are unveiling an industry-wide financial assistance hub. And this site aims to inform and assist bank customers so they know exactly where they stand and the support that their banks will provide them. Westpac's update from the December quarter shows that it still had $11 billion worth of mortgages in deferral at the 31st of January. But keep in mind that $11 billion actually only accounts for 2% of its total mortgage book. ANZ's first quarter result shows that only 1% of its home loan book remains in deferral. The CommBank figures reveal the value of its home loan deferrals was down to just 1.4% of its portfolio. All very promising. And finally, really big increases in house price are still being forecast, with the regions set to outperform and the luxury end market expected to be the star in our major cities. REA's Property Outlook report from 2021 says that the Australians have never been wealthier, which is reflected in the rise of luxury property market. This unique trend of house price growth during a recession did not occur during the GFC or the early 90s. Towards the end of 2020, views per listing on realestate.com.au for homes over 10 million increased 150%. The report says that investors are returning to the market with a focus on regional Australia, which will again outperform the rest of the country. While views per listing rose 16% in capital cities during the second half of 2020, the increase in regional Australia was 44%. Westpac economists have lifted their forecast for dwelling prices and are now expecting a 10% gains in both 2021 and 2022. Westpac's chief economist expects the market will flatten around 2023. And we all know how those predictions have gone. They change on a daily basis. We will keep you posted on all things property from around Australia as the year progresses. And never forget that you know that we give you the best commentary and content here on this channel. So please let me ask you really quickly, my end of video beg, subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Click the notification as well, that you're getting all those expert hints and tips around buying, owning and investing in property as soon as I post them up. If you're enjoying this free content, you're finding it useful, then please click on that all-important like button too. I do genuinely really appreciate it, and I will see you again really soon. Bye.